Great. So hopefully you can all see my screen there. And I'm just briefly going to talk about active and passive defense, and then we'll spend most of the lesson looking at some examples of hands. So what we mean is that often in a defensive situation, you need to decide whether to play passively or actively. And what that means is passive play is leads that are playing cards that are least likely to help declarer make any extra tricks. And they're often chosen when the opponents have bid weakly and perhaps ended in part score on game. And sometimes a trump lead or a suit with no honors can be a suitable passive lead, can be better than leading away from an honor, for example, which is generally a more active lead. And very often we tend to choose passive leads against no trump. So, for example, I beg your pardon. We normally choose them against suit contracts rather than no trump. That is to say, in other words, in a no trump contract, it would be quite reasonable to lead away from something like ace queen 10 XX. You'd leave the fourth highest card. But in a suit contract, you often would choose to make a passive lead and not lead that suit holding. The reason that leading that holding against a suit contract is it's very likely to give declarer a trick or two, and you may never get many tricks back. So you tend to leave more passively against suit contracts and more actively in no trump. And it's more likely passively to be a good choice in duplicate scoring, which is what we're playing today. An active or an attacking lead is where the bidding suggests that there may be a long, strong suit where declarer may be able to take a lot of tricks. And perhaps more importantly, once dummy comes down and you can see that, then it's very often right to switch to an attacking lead. And it's where you need to take your tricks or you may never get them. And it's more likely, as I said, to be chosen an attacking lead against no trump than against a suit contract. And it's also more likely to be a good choice in other forms of bridge scoring where over tricks don't matter so much. But here, with playing pair scoring, it's often good to play fairly passively unless you can see a reason that you need to defend more actively. And I hope this will make more sense with some examples in a moment. Just before we switch to that, I just want to point out that leads like top of a sequence from King, Queen, Jack, or Queen, Jack, 10 are both attacking and safe. That is to say, they're unlikely to give declarer any extra tricks, while at the same time helping you as a defense to establish extra tricks. So these are always attractive leads in all situations, top of a sequence. Much more attractive than leading fourth highest, for example. Anyway, let's switch to the some hands to look at. And actually, I want to spend a little time looking at this hand here. This was a hand that actually was played last Friday face to face. And you can see that everyone here played this in 4 spades and everyone made it, although the computer says that East-West should be held to 9 tricks, to only 3 spades. But everyone managed to make it, and it requires some very careful defense to defeat it. So let's have a look at the hand here. This is the hand, and I've just rotated it so that it's being played by South. And you're on lead against 4 spades, and you've got 3 aces here. And your first question is, what are you going to lead? Now, with you having these 3 aces, it's generally going to be a good idea if you can use your aces to beat the declarer's high cards. In other words, a beginner might start off by cashing their 3 aces and think they've done a good job. But that's a poor job, because really your aces are there to capture declarer's honors. So My question for you to start off with is, what is your lead here? Have a think about what you might lead here. And here comes the poll. And the question is, what do you think West should lead? And nearly everyone has gone for a low spade, with a couple of people picking a low heart or a low club. And yes, I agree with you. The problem with leading an ace or leading away from an ace here is that it may well help declare. You should realize that your partner's probably pretty weak here, and you should really be playing as passively as possible to make sure you save your aces to capture declarer's honors. So a safe lead here is probably a trump. Let's see how it goes. We lead the 2 of spades, and down comes dummy, and we can see a pretty nice dummy for declarer. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 points there, and a great spade fit. So we lead a spade. Declarer wins the first one, draws another round of trump, and at trick 3 they play the jack of clubs. And this is really a time where you might well think about taking your ace, because you see it's going to capture a high card from declarer. So let's suppose you take your ace there, and you now have to think about what else to play here. And again, leading one of your aces or away from one of your aces could easily help declarer. So it's probably much safer to carry on with another club. You're playing passively here, and you're not giving declarer any help by leading your aces. So declarer wins this one. He now leads the jack of diamonds. You could take this. I suppose you decide not to take it, but they carry on in diamonds, and they take a second trick now. You take your second trick with your ace. So that's 6 tricks gone. You've just won the ace of diamonds, and I'm now going to ask you, as West, what are you going to lead now? So what card are you going to play now? Let's have a look what you've got. And most of you have gone for a low diamond and choices for everything else there. And I agree with those of you who decided to play a diamond here. Obviously, you can't be certain about the situation, but at least if you play a diamond, you know there's a diamond in dummy. So declarer won't be able to rough in one hand while they discard from the other. It's possible they're out of clubs in both hands, so I wouldn't lead a club. And again, leading a heart is a lead that could easily help declarer. If I click briefly on the GIB button, you'll see that the only lead to defeat the contract is a diamond. Any other lead, declarer can make the contract. So yes, I think a diamond is the safest lead here. And declarer wins that with the king. And they now play a heart. And I hope you've been preparing yourself for this all during the play. When they lead a heart towards the king, you must, of course, not play your ace. You play low here. Declarer wins the king. And let's suppose they play a spade here. Excuse me. So they play a spade, and you've got to figure out what to discard. Let's suppose you, let me just check where we are. Yeah, so let's suppose you discard a diamond here, and they play another spade. And obviously they've drawn all the spades, but what they're doing is running out their tricks in the hope that you will discard something that will help them. And I've got the last poll on this hand here, they playing their another spade here, and you've got to discard something. Are you going to discard a heart or a club, or doesn't it matter? So let's have a look at your results. Are very evenly divided between a low club, a low heart, or one person said it doesn't matter. Well, if I click briefly on the GIB button, it is telling me that to defeat this contract, I must discard a club. And I'm discarding clubs because there are a couple of reasons. One, first of all, there's no point keeping clubs. Declarer has failed to rough clubs, and instead he's playing out his trumps. So if Declarer had any clubs that he wanted to get rid of by roughing, he would have done that. He's not done that. Instead, he's just playing out his trumps to give you a chance to discard wrongly. And you should, if you like, keep length with dummy here. Your two hearts, it's important to actually keep them both. So if you guess correctly, you will play a club here. And now Declarer leads the 7 of hearts. And you may be tempted to go up with your ace, but you should realize that it's almost certain that your partner has got a heart higher than the 7. And Declarer is playing this way to give you a chance to go wrong. So if I just bring up the 4 hands at this point, you can see what's happening. He's leading a heart here. And if you make the mistake of playing your ace, that's it. He'll now make a trick with his queen. So you must assume your partner's got some heart higher than the 7, play low there, and then your partner will win that trick. Now your partner can return a heart, and you've got your ace to capture Declarer's queen, and you can make that trick there. So played that way, it required a lot of things to be gotten right. You can hold Declarer to 9 tricks, which, as I said before, no one did when this hand was played. If you look at this from Declarer's point of view, you can see he's not going to lose any spades, but he's got the ace of diamonds and the ace of clubs to lose, and he's going to lose at least 1 heart. So his best bet on this hand is to hope that the defense will lead a heart, or that they will go up with their ace of hearts and give him 2 heart tricks. But you should play as passively as possible and try and avoid doing that. Okay. Any questions on that? It's a very hard one to find the right defense and defeat the contract. Let's have a look at this one here. And here it's gone 1 spade, 2 spades pass. And you're on lead here. And you've got a difficult hand to lead from. You really don't want to be leading away from your honors like your king-jack combinations. It's very likely that that will help Declarer if you lead those suits. And you also don't want to lead a trump here because you're hoping to make a trick with your queen, and that's less likely if you lead that suit. So I think I'd probably lead the 2 of diamonds as the least bad lead. And down comes dummy, and Declarer plays low from dummy. And I'd like to look at this now from East's point of view. So I'm going to switch over to East's point of view. And you can see, well, your partner's led the 2 of diamonds. The 7 was played. That 2, unless it's a singleton, which doesn't seem that likely on this bidding, probably means that they've got an honor, which presumably is the queen. So your correct play is to play the 10 of diamonds. Okay. So you play the 10 and it holds the trick. And I'd like you to think about what you're going to play at trick 2. So you've won the 10 of diamonds. And I'd like you to think about this from East's point of view. And the question is, what do you think East should play at trick 2? Okay, let's have a look at what you put. And the majority have gone for a heart, with one person going for a number of the other options. And let's see what we think. Well, you might be thinking about returning a diamond here, but can you see that that will give Declare a trick with the king? So, especially on this bidding sequence, this calls for a passive play, one where you don't want to lead anything that will give Declare any extra tricks. So you want to keep your ace of diamonds to capture the king. So you mustn't lead a diamond back. And looking at dummy, yes, I would lead a heart back. You're leading into dummy's weakness, and you're not giving Declarer any extra tricks, which you might do if you were leading into a stronger suit in dummy. So yeah, I think leading a heart is quite attractive. You could lead the 9 or the 8, and your partner wins this trick with a 10, which is great news. They now play a diamond back, and you can win this one with the jack. And you might well play a heart back here, or you could play a diamond. But suppose you play a heart back, and if we just bring up the 4 hands, we'll see the situation that you playing hearts trap the queen there, so your partner's able to win that one. They can play a diamond back to you. Well, that gets roughed, but no matter. And now Declarer, having got in, leads the jack of spades. And if we look at West hand here, West, you might be thinking about covering an honor with an honor, but that's probably a mistake here. Declarer started off with at least 8 trump between the 2 hands, and you've got 3, and it may well be that they're planning to just cash the ace and king. But if you cover the queen, if you use the queen to cover the jack with, that's just helping them. So West, you should just play those smoothly in this situation, and Declarer might decide to finesse the other way. So if we bring up the 4 hands, Declarer might try the finesse the other way, in which case you can win that trick. And if you do win that trick, let's think about what we might play now. Again, just looking at the West hand, the one thing I probably don't want to play is a club, because that may help Declarer, or a diamond. But you might play a trump, or you might play a heart. If you play a trump, Declarer wins that one. Declarer might cash their ace. And now Declarer leads a club. And now, of course, this is the time for West not to play low here, but to take their trick, because it's a setting trick. And they can see if they don't play it, the king, Declarer can make a trick with the queen there. So you take it, and you take 6 tricks. After that, Declarer is going to make the rest, taking the making 7 tricks here. But you hold Declarer to 7 tricks by very accurate defense, very passive playing of not giving away anything to Declarer. Let's try this one here. And here it's gone 1 heart, 2 clubs, 2 hearts, 3 hearts. And your partner gets off to the lead of the queen of diamonds. So that looks like quite a good lead, in the sense that you've got the ace and king. So suppose you give an encouraging signal, and they lead another diamond, and you win that one with the king of diamonds. And I've got the next poll for you now, which is, having won the king of diamonds, what do you think he should play now? Which card do you think he should play at trick 3? Have a look at the results. So majority went for a spade, with choices for clubs, diamonds, or hearts. And let's switch back and see what we think. Well, what's different on this hand compared to the ones we've looked at so far is that there's a long, strong club suit in dummy. And even though the queen is missing, either declarer has the queen in their hand, or West has it, in which case it will drop or could be finessed by declarer. So this is a time, well, first of all, there's not much point leading another diamond because we can see that's going to be roughed. I'm not going to lead a club because that's leading into the strong suit in dummy. But if I think about where the defense can make any tricks here, well, we've made 2 diamond tricks. Maybe we'll got a heart coming our way if my partner's got a high heart honor. But the only other place we can make tricks is in spades. So I now need to shift to an active defense. And yes, I agree with most of you who said you should switch to a spade. So I'm going to lead a spade, and I hope that my partner's got an honor that we can make at least 1 or 2 tricks there. As it turns out here, they have the ace, and so they lead back another spade. So we take that spade, and if we play a 3rd spade, well, declarer wins that with the queen. Declarer now draws trumps. Okay, and now he cashes the clubs. And he takes the remaining clubs and makes 9 tricks there. But if we look at the hand from declarer's point of view, we can see that although we held him to 9 tricks, if we don't find that defense, declarer is going to make 5 hearts and 5 clubs at least to make at least 10 tricks there. So here, once we can see there are no more tricks coming in diamonds, it's right to shift to an active defense, and that is to shift to a spade. The only prospect of making tricks now, we're not going to make any in clubs or diamonds, is that my partner's got something in spades, and we can make our 2 spades to go with 2 diamonds to hold declarer to 9 tricks. That's the best we can do on this hand, but it calls for an active defense there. Let's have a look at this one. And here North opens a heart, you overcall 2 clubs, South bids 2 spades, and North jumps to 4 spades. Oops, and your partner leads the jack of clubs. And you can see that what you should be looking at when you see dummy is that long, strong heart suit, which again is likely to be a source of tricks for declarer. So when they play the 9, let's suppose we overtake with the 10. There's no need to play the ace or king because we can see a queen in dummy. We overtake in case it was a singleton, perhaps. And then we lead back another club. And we win that one. And now we have to think about what we should play now. And with that strong heart suit in dummy, you've got to realize that you're not going to make, firstly, you're not going to make any more club tricks because they can be roughed in dummy. And the only other place you can make tricks is in diamonds. And you'll only make diamond tricks if your partner has the ace. If you don't, if declarer has got the ace of diamonds, you're not going to make any diamonds. Declarer can finesse against your king if they need to. So the right card to play here is a very active defense, which is the king of diamonds. I'll just bring up the 4 hands at this point. And this is the kind of holding you're hoping for. Your partner will give you an encouraging signal. You can play a diamond back. And if they play a 3rd diamond, you get a rough, which defeats the contract. And if we don't find that defense, let's rewind the hand. You can see that declarer, if you don't defend that way, is going to make all the hearts, 5 hearts, and they're going to make 5 diamonds. They're going to make at least 10 tricks on this one. And you have to switch to the active defense of a diamond, and the king of diamonds is the best card. It's an unusual lead there because you may think it risks giving away a trick, But really, if declarer has the ace of diamonds, you're probably not going to make any tricks there in the diamond suit. And finally, let's have a look at this one. Here it's gone 1 heart, 1 spade by your partner, 2 hearts, passed by you, 3 hearts, and that's passed out. And your partner leads the ace of spades. So you have a little think about this. You should give an encouraging signal here because you've got a doubleton and they lead the king. So you follow up with a 5 and they play another spade. And obviously they want you to ruff that. So you may as well ruff that high. I don't think the jack of hearts is much use. So we've won the third. We've won the third trick with our jack of hearts. And I've got the last poll for you now. What card are you going to play now? Have a look at the results. Some more people haven't answered, but most people have gone for a low heart with choices of a club or a diamond. And let's think about this. Well, what should be standing out to you on this one is those queens in dummy, the queen of diamonds and the queen of clubs, and the fact that you've got the king of diamonds and the king of clubs, and you want to prevent those queens making tricks. And you should definitely not be leading a diamond or a club. And yes, you have the much safer lead of a trump. Yes, lead a trump back. You're playing passively here to try to ensure you take tricks with your kings. So declarer wins that. They play another round of trump. And let's suppose they play the ace of clubs. Okay, and then maybe a club over to the queen. And you take that with your king. And again, you've got to think at this point about what you're going to return. And if I bring up the 4 hands, you can see that what you really want to return here is another club. Rather than playing a diamond, which will allow the declarer to win a trick with a 10, in fact, or the queen, you should be playing another club. Don't lead into the strength in dummy. When declarer's finessing like this, it's normally much better to just return the same suit that they've just played. And although declarer roughs that, you haven't given away anything. Declarer might now lead a diamond. And if they play the queen, of course, you're going to take your king. And you might well play a diamond back. It doesn't really matter at this point. But declarer will claim the rest, but will be held to 8 tricks here. So here, once you see dummy, you realize you need to play passively and not lead into those queens in dummy, okay? So the dummy here gives you a big clue that you need to play passively and not actively, not aggressively. Anyway, that ends the talk.